This is Bill Morehead interviewing Mr. Caruso. Um, this is about the U2 incident involving Gary Powers.
Francis Gary Powers.
Francis Gary Powers. What was life like before the incident?
We're talking about now the Cold War period, very much so. We're talking about the Eisenhower years. This happened around 59, 60. We were battling communists throughout the world, and we would try and keep an eye on what the Russians and the Soviet Union was doing. And I guess part of that was U-2 planes, spy planes that fly very high and very quickly, taking pictures of what movements were going on in the Soviet Union at that time.
What was like after the plane was shot down?
Oh, it was a tense time for the United States. First, we denied we did it because we were perceived and wanted to be perceived as the good guys in this, and usually good guys don't spy on their neighbors or and then claim you weren't doing it when you really were doing it. So it gave the United States sort of a black eye for a long time in other countries. Our reputation suffered a lot because of this incident.
All right. What forms of media do you remember covering it?
Well, media back then was not like media is now. We didn't have an internet. We didn't have a cable news, many cable news stations, but newspapers especially probably were still the main form of information was through newspapers, and TV was coming on strong. So both of those, and of course radio, believe it or not, even as late as that, the 59, 60, radio was still very important media back then. So those three medias were very covered to a large extent.
As you were saying before that we were always fighting the Russians and always trying to keep an eye on them. Why do you think it was so important for the U.S. to deploy a plane over there?
Well, I don't know how important it really was. They were paranoid against us, and I think we were a little bit more paranoid against them. We probably knew what they were doing before without taking pictures. We had spies in Russia. They probably had spies here. So any great movement was going to be detected and known. It was probably a safeguard to do that, and it was probably a mistake on our part to do that. It made us look very bad. It made us look foolish. That we wanted, once again, we're supposed to be the good guys. We're not supposed to do things like that, but we did it anyway.
And do you remember what happened to Mr. Powers?
Francis Gary Powers, a year or two later, we exchanged a Russian spy. I believe his name was Rudolph Abel. We exchanged him for Francis Gary Powers, and we got him back after serving a few years in prison. So I think he died here in the United States. I think he's deceased now.
And one last question. Do you remember where you were when you heard about this?
I was probably in grade school. I don't know what part of the year it was. I was 1960. I was 8, 9 years old, somewhere in there. So I don't know if I even understood all the implications that were going on. I knew it was a big deal that the United States plane was shot down over Soviet territory because we didn't think those kind of things were going on. So I was probably in grade school somewhere.
I thank you for your time.
Thank you.